How's it going, everybody? This is Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to Retro Flashback Blind Play, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. Damn it, man. Alright, so, a while ago, I did a video on this game right here. So, Arcade Archives is a series of titles put out. Well, originally they were pretty much only in Japan. They're a bunch of arcade games from various developers and various different levels of historical notoriety, put out by a publisher in Japan called Hamster that pretty much nobody knows on this side of the pond, but they're pretty prolific over there. These came out on the PlayStation 4 only, and they were known for two things. One, having the easiest batch of trophies to get in just about any PlayStation game ever, and two, being obscenely overpriced. They put this guy out here in North America quite a while ago, actually. This is the arcade version of Rygar, and I took a look at it blind because I'd never really touched them before, and I wanted to see what it was like. And I thought they had some of the easiest trophies in the world, that the emulation was pretty decent, the package was pretty decent, and at $8 a pop, these things are insanely overpriced. There's a whole whack of these out in Japan, but for months and months and months, Rygar is all we had over here. Well, Hamster has taken it upon themselves to fix that. So, a whole batch of other ones have come out over here. Now, these things are $8 a pop, and they're still obscenely overpriced, so sorry guys, this channel doesn't make me enough money to friggin' buy all of them. It's just not gonna happen, alright? But because I love my audience and hate myself, apparently, I decided to spend $16 on two other games that are a little bit more interesting. Some of the more unique titles in here that are not easily playable elsewhere. So I'm going to do a video on this one today. This is City Connection, and I'm also going to do a video on Crazy Climber as probably my next video. I know what these games are. I've never played either of them before, so that's why I'm calling this a blind play. So we're going to dive in here, and I'm going to show this off to you and try to explain it as we go. So here we go. This is from 1985 by Jalico, which is a company that at one point in time was fairly prolific as a Japanese publisher as well. They actually completely got out of video games. They do, if you can believe it now, real estate. They completely pivoted out of that into something else, which is really interesting. You can see there at the bottom as well, this says Clarice Games. I don't know who the heck that is. And Nipponichi Software, which I think maybe Nipponichi is who owns Jalico's catalog now. I'm really not sure. I don't know why their name is on this. Their name's on a lot of these games for some reason. And yeah, and Hamster, as you can see there, put this out. So, remember I talked about the stupid easy trophies that this game has? Yeah, so I'm going to show you that again. I highly recommend you go back and take a look at my Arcade Archives Rygar video if you want. For reasons passing understanding, that's one of the most popular videos on my channel. I mean, I know why it's popular. It's because for whatever reason, this is the demo, I think, right? Yeah. For whatever reason, when you search for Rygar on YouTube, my video shows up in the first page of results. I don't get it either, friggin' weird YouTube algorithmic magic, but so yeah, remember I told you about the easy trophies? Oh yeah, just wait for it. See that? All I did was bring up the options menu. Oh no, we're not done yet. Wait for it. Yeah. Awesome, isn't it? Oh, yes, sir. Wait for it. There's the manual, which you can scroll with the touchscreen button because it's very snazzy that way. Bing! Look at the online rankings. Aim to be the best. Oh, yeah, also, isn't that great? And I believe, if I recall correctly, hang on, let's take a quick look-see here. I believe the two remaining trophies are, yeah, they're actually hidden, but the two remaining trophies are beat the factory high score for the game and post a high score to the online leaderboards. Every one of these games has a set of trophies you can get, and that's all you have to do for each one. So if you're a trophy fiend, easiest trophies you've ever seen in your life, my friends. Yep. Alright, so let's get this started here. So this game is actually kind of neat in its own way. So I'm going to show you this. I have no idea why the factory high score is so bloody high. that, you know what? Getting the high score trophy might actually be a bit of a trick here. Because that's really, I think that's really high. So yeah, City Connection. This is actually a really neat take on an arcade game. It kind of feels a little bit like maybe, I don't know, maybe Jaleco's weird take on kind of like Pac-Man, maybe? So the idea here, I mean, clearly this game has nothing to do with real life in any meaningful sense at all. Actually, you know what? I'm getting $5,000 for hitting each of these cars. Maybe it's actually not that unrealistic to pass 430,000 points. So, yeah, your objective here is to turn the entire playfield from its default color to another color, which you do quite simply by, well, driving over things. See here, by hitting this, I'm turning the ground from white to green. And your ultimate goal here is to basically, well, not screw up like I am, but your ultimate goal is basically to turn the whole section to the other color. So yeah, I didn't set a high score there. So I believe you actually have to also beat the factory high score in order to actually post to the online leaderboards, if I'm correct here. All right, here we go. So yeah, your goal is to change the whole thing, and also to try to score as many points as possible by taking out by not dying, by taking out the various cops that are trying to pursue you in the arena. And you also saw at one point, I don't know if you saw it in my last playthrough there, a little thing with like a cat with a, yeah, there he is right there, a cat with a checkered flag. I believe that thing will take you out as well, and he might not be destroyable. I could be wrong about that. I am not doing well at this. This game's actually a little harder than it looks. So the way you take out the enemy cars is actually by shooting them with oil cans. So I have 7 oil cans on me right now, as you can see, and you can pick more up. This car also has probably the best handling I've ever seen in my life. So you see, you hit a car with an oil can, it spins out, and then you touch it, and it goes flying off and gives you a whack of points. Okay, so hitting that cat apparently does kill you. I guess? Sure. Alright. I'm actually not 100% sure about that. And that's why I think this feels a little bit like Pac-Man, because you're trying to fill in the... you're trying to turn all the playfield to a certain color, and then you spin out these cop cars and you have to touch them to knock them off. You can see a lot of parallels to Pac-Man in this. And as you can see here, you're also getting... You're driving a certain number of kilometers as well. I wonder if that's a secondary high score thing. I'm actually not sure about that. Like I said, this is a blind play. I purposely didn't research this very much. Maybe we'll check the manual after, you know, the manual that I scrolled through to get an easy trophy. So your goal is to, obviously this is a score attack game because it's an arcade game. So really, you want to fill in the arena, but you also want to try to take out as many of these cars as you can, as quickly as you can, because obviously that leads to pretty large-scale points there. And but I screwed that up because I ran out of oil. So the other thing I'm not 100% sure of here exactly is how you jump back up to a higher level when you've fallen down. So let's go take a look here. So, yeah, circle button is jump. Oh, up plus circle button is high jump. That's what I thought I was doing. So, yeah, stage is complete when all the roads have been painted. The direction of Clarice's car. Oh, your character's name is Clarice. I guess that's where Clarice Games came from. Weird. Direction, police cars and obstacles can be avoided by jumping. You can also jump higher by pressing up on the directional pad of the left stick. Hitting a moving police car with an oil can causes it to spin. By slamming into a spinning police car, you will earn bonus points. Yeah, okay. So you can warp to a random stage by collecting the 3 balloons that appear in a stage. Oh, that's interesting. Oddly enough, it doesn't talk about that cat thing. So, yeah, mileage. So score and mileage. It doesn't actually talk about that at all. So, I don't actually know if... I presume the mileage is like a secondary high score thing. Oddly enough, the manual doesn't talk about that at all. So, I guess I could always check the leaderboards and see if it measures them. Also, okay, so the jumping there does work, but that's a fun thing I just realized. So, circle is the Japanese button configuration. Jump on the US version of this is actually X, not Circle. Circle fires the oil cans. So, funny enough, it would appear that this manual, though translated it seems fairly well into English, is actually, well, it's actually the Japanese controls, which is rather hilarious and kind of ridiculous that didn't get pushed, that got through certification with that glitch there. I find that rather amusing personally, but interestingly enough, too, these cop cars really love to sort of pile down onto the lower levels. You can really, if you're good at it, you could really stack up some, stuff there. So, this is interesting. Oh, jeez. Freaking cat, man. Oh, interesting. So if you want to jump to a higher level, you've got to make sure that you do it in between sections. You actually can't... That's devious. So you actually have to make sure that you do it in between sections. Your car will not traverse a line on its own. So that's actually makes this game a lot more challenging than I initially would have thought. I have to say, that factory top score is kind of mean. Like, they're usually not that hard to do, but actually, if you wanted to max out the trophies in this game, that might actually be a real challenge to pull that off. I wonder if that was the actual default high score on the arcade game. I'll have to research that and check. But yeah, this is neat. It's an interesting take on the formula that I guess you could say was sort of... I don't know if Pac-Man, you could say, started it or just popularized it. But the idea of having the objective to fill out the board while also having, you know, opponents to take out with using a specialized technique is, you know, certainly the formula that Pac-Man was known for. And I don't know, this is kind of... This is... Whoa! Friggin' cat. This is neat. I like how this... It's friggin' tough. I'll tell you that right now, though. It's actually pretty brutal. Credit feed into this sucker a little bit here, so... It's definitely a cool concept, and it looks pretty good. You know, for a game that came... This game came out in the mid-'80s, and in '85 there were probably better-looking arcade games than this, but this looks pretty good. Those backgrounds in particular are actually really nice. There's the World Trade Center in there. Yeah, timing those jumps is definitely an interesting, thing. I also find it funny that when you turn around, you notice how the cars... I don't know if that's just an illusion or not, but do you notice how the... hey, there's one of the balloons. You notice how the cars kind of stay in place when you change direction? Look at the right. Whoop. Like, I don't know if that's just an illusion being caused by the scrolling or not, but it's, I find that kind of funny. But yeah, and actually filling out a level can take quite a while because it gets really tricky to get... Shoot, when you get those edges is actually really, really tricky. You gotta turn kind of on a dime there to pull that off if you're not planning to do it as you sort of jump through. It's definitely not the easiest game in the world. I mean, Pac-Man could get pretty challenging too, but at least in Pac-Man you could kind of predict the behavior of the AI and you could sort of min-max the best sort of pattern to take in order to fill out a level. I don't know, maybe this might have a very predictable system too that just not having played it before I just, you know, not familiar with. But oh, there we go. Yeah, it's definitely, you gotta be really... I highly recommend, so one of the things that I think is kind of nice about these Arcade Archives games is it does allow you to play with either the D-pad or the analog stick. I would say for most of these old school arcade games, playing with the D-pad is definitely your best option, just because it gives you precision and quicker response. Bugger! Okay, I'm totally finishing this level. I think the only bit I haven't filled out is the corner on that one lower level, so we're totally going to do this. Also, the cop cars spin in perpetuity, which I find hilarious. Okay, here we go. Now you have driven all the highway. 1,800 bonus points. So I only got 2 balloons there. The third balloon would have, I guess, warped me to a random level, which is kind of interesting. So now we've changed locations to London, I guess. This is definitely a much brighter level, but it's really cool, and like they put some real effort into the art in this game. Like the background is very different. You know, you've got different police vans. What do they call those there? Like are they just called police lorries, or do they have a specific term for police vans? And this sounds, I guess, like the same song, but like it's a like a different mix of it, which I think is kind of interesting. Boosh, boosh, boosh. I got to admit, it is really satisfying to just stack up these combo things with the vent. Whoa, whoa! What's with the spikes appearing in the ground? Holy crap. Oh, okay. Actually, it looks like I'm going to hit the... So maybe you don't have to beat the actual top score of the game. You just have to land on the game's internal scoreboard. I'm not sure. Nope. It looks like you do have to beat the top. Okay, so there are scoreboards for both score and for... Oh, no, there. Mark a high score. So, yeah. And then you do this. You put it on the leaderboards. And there we go. So now, I officially have all the trophies for City Connection. Seriously, it's that simple. I know they probably did that just to save themselves some time, but that does feel pretty lazy. So, I mean, I'm going to tell you from the perspective of the emulated collection itself, Arcade Archives is pretty good. Like, I've seen better. You know, this is not Capcom Arcade Cabinet or anything like that, but Capcom Arcade Cabinet, you could certainly make a case for saying that it went overboard in terms of what it did. Capcom Arcade Cabinet had a frankly stupid amount of options, like stuff that you would never possibly use. And, you know, it didn't hurt anything, and hey, I'm all about saying, hey, more options is always better than none, yeah? And that's very much true, but at the same time, it went a little nuts. This is somewhere in the middle. I've seen collections that are way, way worse than this in terms of the options they offer you. This has a good amount of them. It has some of the options that you would never realistically care about. Oh god, so the friggin' spikes come up in all the other levels too? That's just cruelty. I guess that's to prevent you from just sort of zipping back and forth in place too much. I mean, I kind of get that, but at the same time, that's kind of just mean. So yeah, the collection's not bad. I mean, the trophies are... To me, they're a sign to a certain degree that Hamster kind of didn't give a damn when they were putting this together, and that kind of bums me out because putting in trophies for certain different types of actual objectives within the game, that can't be that hard. They're already emulating the game, and sure, it must be easy enough to just have a little thing that says... you know, when this condition is met within the ROM, award a trophy. I mean, for example, getting the 3 balloons that warp you to a random level, that could have easily been a trophy, and that would have been a good trophy because it's a challenge, right? That's the whole point of trophies. This is supposed to be a challenge. You accomplish some kind of unique goal or objective, and you get a little treat for it. That's kind of the idea, but... I mean, if you don't care about trophies, it's not going to matter to you anyway. And if you do care about trophies, if you're someone who actually cares about stacking up trophies and the like, you'll actually probably like these because of how simple they make that, right? But, yeah, it shows that. And honestly, I'm going to come back to the same thing I said before. This is the same thing I will say about Nintendo and the Virtual Console. I think getting retro games on these systems is a fantastic idea. I would really like to see more of it purely from... the angle of preservation and from the angle of giving a newer... It's the reason I do this show is giving a newer generation a look at older games that they may think are really cool, but that they've never had the opportunity to experience themselves. $8 is too damn much, man. I'm sorry, like... There's, you know, I've talked before about how much I'm not a big fan of mobile games, but there are a lot of good mobile games out there that you can get for a quarter of the cost of this. You know, this is a 30-year-old game that they're trying to charge as much for as some really good indie games that are on PlayStation Network right now. You know, forget even mobile games. This is stuff that you could get on PSN right now. And maybe if these were cross-buy to where I could buy it once and get it here and on my Vita, that might make a better case for it being $8. But these aren't. This is the other weird thing. These aren't available on the Vita. They're not available on the PS3 even. These are only on the PS4. Like, you could run these on, like, the audio chip of a PS1, and yet for some reason they've only put them on the newest console, which limits the audience right there, and then they price it at a frankly ridiculous level where maybe, yeah, okay, you'll get some enthusiasts on board, but again, it's too much money. If you want, and sure, these probably don't need to sell a lot to do well, but imagine how much more these could sell if you made them, say, $2 or $3 or $5 with cross-buy. I bet they'd sell a lot more and probably in the end make more money than they would this way. I just don't understand the logic behind it. But yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of information here. So the game settings are here, so you can adjust your number of players. You can turn the demo sound on and off, which is kind of neat. You can adjust the difficulty. Arcade games did have difficulty settings. They were just something that the operator had to set. The sound quality, oh, this is interesting. Mid-range down, bass up, high range up, or average. So it's kind of changing the mix of it a little bit. I don't know if Rygar had that. I want to say it didn't. That's interesting. And you can reset the local high scoreboard, which is kind of cool. I like that. Button settings, you can remap all the buttons, which is cool. I like that. Again, pretty stupid that it doesn't actually say the correct buttons in the manual, but whatever. And then display settings. So you can put a frame around it, which is kind of neat. You can see in the background there, it's just a little white box. Sure, why not? These are the things that Capcom Arcade Cabinet did that I don't know why anyone would really need here, but it is here. You can adjust the position of the screen as well as the size. If you want to completely blow the ratio out all to hell and make it look really strange, you can do that. Again, why would you? But hey, it's there, why not? Orientation as well. If you're a really crazy person who actually can have a vertical display, because some arcade games work better in vertical orientation, you can do that. Kind of neat. And you can turn scan lines on and off, and actually adjust the intensity, it looks like, which is kind of cool. Some people like scan lines because it does give a feel of authenticity. You know, I grew up in the era of scan lines. I know what it's all about. I also think it's totally unnecessary. I mean, if you've got the ability to run this on a modern display, why not make it look as good as you can, right? But you got the option there, and if you want to do it, that's fine. You also have, of course, one of the best things about emulation, which is you can create an interrupt save data. So what an interrupt basically means, I'm going to show you here. Also, that ready timer is way too long. So you want to go here, and let's say you got to go do something, or you want to practice to a particularly difficult level in a game. You create an interrupt save data. Oddly, there's no trophy for this. And, you know, you're like, oh, I screwed that up. I want to try something a little different. You come back in here. And how do you get back to it? Do you just reset the game? I actually don't remember. This is rather amusing. I don't actually know. How do you bring up... I created... Oh, the next time you launch this application, you will restart from where you created the save data. So you can't... What? God, I must have skipped over that in Rygar, because I don't remember that. So apparently you can't go back to your save data at any time. You have to restart the application? That's really dumb. All right, let's hit this up again and see here. So yeah, Hamster made this, I know. Uh-huh. Well, it didn't actually do it. Let's try that one more time. I want to make sure this works. So, anyway, you're getting the idea here. This is not especially... It's not a good value. And it's a real bummer, because some of the games in this Arcade Archives collection are, yeah, you know, they're here and there. But some of them are actually really cool. Okay, that time it worked. So yeah, the fact that it only does that when you restart the game is particularly dumb. So it actually makes it really useless for a practicing perspective. So Yeah, that's pretty dumb. Anyway, so yeah, there are some good games in this collection. Some of them are pretty hit and miss, if you ask me, but some of them are not bad. Like City Connection is a cool game. Rygar, I actually like the arcade version of Rygar. A lot of people don't. I think it's pretty good. Crazy Climber, which is the next game I'm going to look at, is maybe better from a curiosity perspective, because it's kind of mad. But it's neat in its own way, and there are other good games in this collection, but $8 a pop to access them on only a PlayStation 4 is way too much money. Hamster needs to learn the same lesson Nintendo needs to learn with the Virtual Console. If you charge less, in my opinion, you'd sell more of these to people buying them out of idle curiosities and ultimately make more money than you will charging this insane amount for them and appealing only to hardcore enthusiasts who already love the game and frankly probably know how to use an emulator that they can get for free. Just saying. I don't know. I'm not a business guy. Hamster's been around a long time. They have people there who in theory know what they're doing. So maybe they did the math and said, no, if we line this up, this makes more sense, I guess. But I think it's a poor value. If you either really, really love these games or have a really strong interest in playing some kooky retro titles, sure, pick them up. I mean, they're well emulated. They play well. They've got online leaderboards. They've got the ability to tweak the game settings. They have save states, poorly implemented though they may be. And they have some of the easiest trophies known to man. So why not? But it's just, even as a retro enthusiast, I really can't recommend it at this price. I just think it's too much. I really, really would hope that someday they decide to put these out on the Vita as well, and maybe just say, hey, any of these ones you bought on the PS4, you just get them on Vita. If you did that, I would still say for hardcore enthusiasts only, but at least in that situation, I could say, yeah, you should. This is probably worth picking up in that case. But as it is now, I think only the hardest core need apply. Everybody else, there are plenty of arcade game collections out there for the last generation of consoles where you can get like 40 games in a package for $20. And some of them are games that I would say are probably better than some of the ones that are in this collection. So take that for what it's worth. But in this case, City Connection's a pretty cool game. I'm actually enjoying this. I will probably get my $8 value out of this. I'll admit, I've played a lot of Rygar, and I probably have gotten $8 worth of playtime out of that. I probably will out of this as well. So if this looks like something that's really fun for you and that you'd like to put some effort into score attacking, yeah, give it a shot. It's definitely one of the better games in this collection, but we'll see. As I said, I'm not going to do a video on every Arcade Archives game, but I'm going to keep my eye on what they put out over here. I am going to do Crazy Climber, either for my next video or soon at any rate, and I may do ones on some other interesting titles that make their way over here. The entire lineup from Japan has not made it over here yet, but now that this stuff has, one can assume it will show up here, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is my blind play of Crazy Climber for arcades. Published and developed in 1985 by Jalico. This is the horribly overpriced Arcade Archives version on PlayStation 4. Feels like a good game, and it's emulated really well, and it's a total ripoff. It's a shame, that. My name is Parallax Abstraction. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That does help me out a great deal. And, well, I will see you guys next time. Maybe for Crazy Climber, maybe for something else, but we shall see what happens. Take it easy, guys.
Thank you.